My name's Jason, I'm 39, and I live in Fort Collins, Colorado. I've been married to Amanda for 7 years. We don't have kids, just a dog named Tucker who gets more affection than I do these days. I work as a project coordinator for a construction company. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills. I get up at 6 a.m., hit the job sites, make sure the crews have what they need, deal with the city, the inspectors, all that. And every day I come home hoping my wife still loves me. Most days, I'm not so sure. It didn't start this way. In the beginning, Amanda was wild, funny, spontaneous. She used to text me in the middle of the day just to say she missed me. She'd show up at my job with lunch. We'd dance in the kitchen to old country songs, barefoot, with pizza on the counter. It felt real. It felt solid. Now she barely looks at me. It started subtle. Less touch, less laughter, fewer conversations, more excuses. She'd come home from work, she's a dental hygienist, and go straight to her phone or the couch. I'd ask about her day, and she'd mumble, "Fine," without even looking up. I tried to kiss her on the cheek, and she'd shift her head like it tickled too much. It was all these little things that, by themselves, don't seem like much until you realize they're happening every single day. I'd ask her, "You okay? Something bothering you?" She'd just say, "I'm tired." And listen, I get tired too. We're not 25 anymore. Life isn't a constant date night. But tired turned into distant, and distant turned into cold. And cold? Cold turns you into a ghost in your own damn house. I remember one night in particular. It was Friday. I'd gotten off work early, picked up her favorite takeout from this Thai place near campus, and even grabbed a bottle of that overpriced white wine she likes. I lit a candle, turned the lights down, tried to set the mood. She came in, looked at the table, and said, "Why is it so dark in here?" That was it. No smile. No awe. Just sat down, scrolled through her phone, barely ate, and said her stomach hurt. By 9 o'clock, she was in bed with the door halfway closed. Me? I was still sitting at the table, finishing the wine alone. That's when it hit me. I'm married, but I'm invisible. I didn't tell anyone what was going on. Not my coworkers, not even my older brother. I was embarrassed. Like maybe I'd failed. Maybe I'd stopped being interesting. Maybe I let myself go. But then Haley moved in. Amanda's younger sister. 28, just got out of a long-term relationship with some guy who cheated on her with a coworker. She was wrecked, had nowhere to go. So Amanda said she could crash in our guest room for a few weeks. I wasn't thrilled. I mean, privacy's already rare when your marriage feels like a business partnership. But I didn't fight it. Figured it might even help take Amanda out of her funk. At first, Haley kept her distance. She worked remote as a graphic designer and stayed in her room most of the day. But at night, when Amanda would vanish in her phone or lock herself in the bathroom for an hour, Haley and I would end up crossing paths in the kitchen. One night, I was making a sandwich around 10 p.m., and she walked in wearing a hoodie and pajama pants. She looked at me, looked at the untouched dinner still on the stove, and said, "She didn't eat again." I shook my head, said she wasn't hungry. Haley gave me this half-sad, half-knowing look and said, "You're a better man than most, Jason." I didn't know what to say to that. I just handed her half the sandwich and said, "Well, somebody ought to eat." And that's how it started. Quiet conversations at odd hours. Nothing inappropriate. Just human. Just real. We talk about music, bad breakups, weird dreams, anything. She made fun of how I slice avocados. I told her coffee-to-creamer ratio was a crime against humanity. Meanwhile, Amanda barely noticed, or didn't care. And I know what you might be thinking. That's dangerous, Jason. That's how affairs start. But that wasn't the energy. Not first. I wasn't attracted to Haley like that. I was just grateful someone still saw me. And that right there? That's what hurts the most. Not the lack of sex, not the distance, but the fact that your partner doesn't see you anymore. Like your jokes are just background noise. Like your touch is a burden. And the worst part? You start blaming yourself. I remember one afternoon, I got off work early again and decided to surprise Amanda by washing her car and getting it detailed. I even vacuumed the inside and left a little note on the dashboard. "You're still my girl." That night, she came home, saw the car, and said, "Thanks. You didn't have to do all that." No smile, no hug, no kiss. Just that. Later that night, Haley and I were sitting on the porch drinking a beer. She looked at me and said, "You do all this stuff for her, and she treats you like the dog pissed on the floor." I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind you do when you're just trying not to cry. "You know what's crazy?" I said. "I keep trying, like if I just do one more nice thing, maybe she'll notice. But I'm starting to feel like a doormat with a wallet." Haley didn't say anything, just handed me another beer and sat beside me while the crickets filled the silence. It was in those moments, the quiet ones, where I realized how heavy my chest had been feeling every day, like I was holding my breath inside my own house. One night, we were watching TV. Amanda on the far side of the couch, arms folded, phone in hand. Haley sitting on the floor with Tucker curled up next to her. I looked at my wife and thought, when did you stop being my teammate? There was no big fight, no dramatic yelling, just silence. Awkward, heavy, exhausting silence. It's hard to explain to someone who's never lived it, but it's a kind of heartbreak you can't scream about. You just swallow it and go to bed. And the next morning, you pretend everything's fine. Again, you ever hit a point where you're not even mad anymore? You're just done. I've been walking on emotional eggshells for so long that I forgot what normal even felt like. I started asking myself things like, is this just what marriage becomes? Or maybe I'm expecting too much. I started telling myself it's just a phase. That Amanda was going through something she wasn't ready to talk about. That I needed to be patient. But you can only lie to yourself for so long. It was a Thursday night, middle of March. I'd had a brutal day at work. Back-to-back site visits, a flat tire outside a contractor's office, and a passive-aggressive email from my supervisor about a minor scheduling screw-up. I was fried. I didn't even want a beer. I just wanted to sit on the couch with Amanda and feel like I still mattered to her. That's it. No grand romantic gesture. No sex. Just presence. Just connection. I walked through the door around 6:15. Amanda was already on the couch, blanket over her legs, face glued to her phone. The TV was on, but I don't think she was watching it. Haley wasn't home. She had a dinner thing with one of her girlfriends, so I figured maybe this was a good time to just talk. "Hey," I said, dropping my keys on the counter. "How was work?" She didn't look up. "Busy." I sat on the other end of the couch, not too close, not too far. I didn't want to crowd her. I took a breath. "Listen, I know things have been a little off between us lately. I'm tired," she cut in. Still scrolling. Didn't even look at me. "Yeah, me too," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "But I don't think we've really talked in weeks. I miss you, Amanda." She finally looked at me, but not with love, not even with annoyance, just indifference. And then she said it. "I just don't feel like it, Jason." Okay, I don't feel like pretending everything's fine. I don't feel like being touched. I don't feel like doing this tonight. Her voice wasn't loud. It was flat, emotionless. Almost like she was ordering coffee. I sat there, stunned. I nodded slowly. "Okay." That's all I said. Not "what the hell?" Not "are you serious?" Just "okay." Because when someone you love tells you they don't feel like being close to you, there's no debate. There's just the echo of your own silence in the room. I stood up, grabbed my truck keys from the hook by the door. "Where are you going?" she asked. I shrugged. "Out." She didn't ask where. She didn't tell me to be careful. She just went back to her phone. And that's when I heard the front door open. Haley had just gotten back, holding a takeout bag in one hand and a half-drunk soda in the other. She looked at me, then at Amanda, still sunken into the couch, and raised an eyebrow. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. I forced a tired smile. "Just needed some air." I was halfway out the door when I heard it. Her voice, almost hesitant, a little nervous. "Can I go with you?" I turned. She was standing in the doorway, jacket still on, keys in hand. And you know what? That question, that simple question, hit harder than anything Amanda had said in the past 6 months. Because it wasn't romantic. It wasn't flirty. It wasn't weird. It was human. She saw I was hurting, and she wanted to be where I was, not because of some fantasy or tension, but because she cared. I gave a small nod. "Yeah, sure." We got in the truck, didn't even talk for the first few minutes. Just drove. The sun had dipped behind the Rockies, painting the sky in deep orange and indigo. I headed north, just driving through the quiet neighborhoods outside Fort Collins, window cracked, music low. After a while, she broke the silence. She was cold again, wasn't she? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She always acts like you're too much, Haley said, staring out the window. But you're just real. You try. I laughed under my breath. Trying feels like a crime around here lately. Haley shook her head. You didn't do anything wrong, Jason. I've been watching this for weeks. She treats you like furniture. You come home, you show up, and she acts like you're annoying her just by breathing. I didn't know whether to feel validated or just sadder. But the truth? I appreciated her honesty more than anything I'd heard in months. We drove for maybe 30 more minutes. No destination, just space. At one point, I pulled over near Horsetooth Reservoir, one of those quiet, peaceful spots where the water reflects the moonlight just right. We sat there in the truck, engine off, windows down, air cool. I don't think she loves me anymore, I said out loud for the first time. Not as a question, as a statement. Haley was quiet. Then she reached over and placed her hand on mine. Maybe not, she said, but you still do. And that's the part that hurts the most. I looked over at her. This woman who, 2 months ago, I barely said 5 words to at Thanksgiving dinner. Now, she was the only person in my life making me feel seen. We didn't kiss. We didn't touch again. There was nothing like that. Just a moment of stillness, of 2 people who understood pain, sitting in a truck with the radio humming low and the world finally quiet around them. When we got back to the house, Amanda was already in bed. Bedroom door closed. No texts. No missed calls. No, where are you? Just silence. And for the first time, I realized her silence didn't hurt anymore. It just proved what I already knew. I wasn't in a marriage anymore. I was just staying somewhere I wasn't wanted. And that realization, that was the beginning of the end. You ever feel a switch flip inside you? It doesn't come with fireworks. No screaming. No slamming doors. It's quiet. So quiet. In fact, you barely feel it happen. But once it flips, that's it. You're done. That was me the morning after the drive with Haley. I woke up around 6, as usual. Amanda was still asleep, back turned to me, wrapped up in her blanket like she was trying to block the world out. I just stared at the ceiling for a few minutes, feeling more calm than I had in months. Maybe even years. No more asking why. No more trying to fix something that was already rotting from the inside out. I got up, showered, made my usual strong coffee, and sat out on the porch with Tucker at my feet. Birds were already chirping. It was one of those early spring mornings where you can feel both the chill and the promise of sun. Peaceful, in a way. Haley came out a few minutes later, holding her own mug. She didn't say anything, just gave me a small nod, like she knew what I'd decided without me having to explain. I didn't tell her my plan. I didn't even fully have one yet. I just knew something had shifted. That weekend, I called an old friend of mine, Greg, a real estate guy I used to work out with at the gym. I asked him how fast he could find me a short-term rental. Nothing fancy, just a place I could clear my head. He got me a 1-bedroom above a garage on the south side of town. Furnished, month to month. Perfect. I signed a lease Monday. Now, I didn't want to humiliate Amanda or do something petty. I wasn't interested in getting even. That kind of stuff drains you. And honestly, she wasn't worth that kind of energy anymore. Instead, I went quiet. I started moving things out little by little. A few clothes here, my tools there, some keepsakes I knew I'd want. When she asked, I just said I was reorganizing the garage or taking stuff to storage. She didn't really pay attention. She was always in her own world. TikTok, wine nights with coworkers, long showers that turned into hours of scrolling in the bathroom. And then came Friday night. I got home late from work. One of the subcontractors had messed up a drywall order, so I stayed behind to help fix it. I came in through the back door, and there they were, Amanda and 2 of her girlfriends, laughing around the kitchen island with a couple bottles of Rose and a pile of DoorDash containers. I gave a polite smile, grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, and turned to go back outside. That's when I heard it. One of her friends said, "Amanda, girl, I don't know how you still got him around. I'd be bored out of my damn mind with a guy like that." Amanda didn't defend me. She didn't say, "Hey, stop." She just laughed. Laughed. That laugh was louder than any fight we ever had. I slept in the truck that night. Just parked a block away from the lake and reclined the seat with Tucker in the passenger seat snoring. In the morning, I didn't go back. I texted Amanda. "I'll be by tomorrow to get the rest of my stuff. No need to talk. Take care." That was it. No goodbye. No lecture. Just the last line of a story I didn't want to read anymore. And of course, that's when she started freaking out. Text after text. Wait, are you serious? Why are you acting like this now? Can we talk? Where are you staying? I didn't respond. By the time I came back on Sunday to grab the last of my things, she was sitting on the couch with that blank stare again. But this time, there was panic behind it. You could see it in her eyes. She thought I'd never leave. She said, "Jason, this is stupid. You're just being emotional." I looked at her for maybe 3 seconds and said, "No, Amanda, I was emotional for a long time. Now I'm just done." She said, "So you're just giving up?" Just like that. I looked around the house. Our house. And I said, "No, you gave up. I just finally noticed." I grabbed the last box and walked out. Didn't look back. What happened after? Haley moved out 2 weeks later. Not with me. She went her own place. We didn't get together. That would have been messy, and honestly, I needed space. She respected that. She texted me sometimes just to check in. Once sent a photo of Tucker with his head on her lap, saying, "He misses you." I smiled at that. Amanda, on the other hand, she went from cold to desperate in record time. Suddenly, I was getting voicemails, her crying, apologizing, saying she didn't realize how far things had gone. She emailed me a long letter blaming stress, blaming her job, blaming me for not being more assertive. She even showed up at the job site one day unannounced, pulled up in her little blue SUV, got out in front of the whole crew, and tried to hug me. I stepped back and said, "Amanda, this is not the time or place." She said, "You were supposed to fight for us." I said, "I did. You just never showed up to the fight." She cried. I didn't. The sweetest part? A few months later, I got invited to a birthday party for a buddy from work. Big backyard barbecue, lots of people. I wasn't planning on going, but Greg talked me into it. Said I needed to get out more. I showed up late, beer in hand, and right there near the grill, Amanda, with one of her friends from that night at our kitchen counter. The one who said I was boring. She froze when she saw me. Want to guess who I was with? A woman named Riley. Smart, kind, real. Someone I met at an electrical supplier while trying to find a replacement breaker box. We'd been dating casually. She didn't know the whole Amanda story, but she looked at me like I mattered. Amanda watched Riley hand me a burger and laugh at something stupid I said. And for the first time, she realized I was gone for good. Not because I left, but because I leveled up without her.